Hello, dear friends. Sometimes you just have to bow your head, say a prayer, and weather the storm. Love and kindness are very everyday superpowers. Opinion piece. The volunteering trap. You learn little and badly. Cheap labor. Do NGOs cut costs? Working for nothing is unfair. Exploiting idols is cult-like. Salaried and non-salaried professionals. Working for free and paying for your stay on top of that. A good professional gives more than he or she is paid for. The world works thanks to good professionals. Gesara's humanitarian projects will be remunerated. Let's start. More than 4 million Spaniards wake up every morning ready to help others. Officially, their activity doesn't form part of the productive fabric, nor does it increase gross domestic product, lower the risk premium or boost competitiveness, nor it is reflected in the balance sheets of banks or in the annual reports of large companies. They are voluntary, according to Carmen Grossa. My mother was a volunteer in a parish to help the poor and ended up burnt by the bad treatment they gave her. I am an honorary reservist aviation officer, and during my voluntary commitment, I remained in a situation of availability, developing my civilian life and profession, and going through annual periods of activation that served to maintain and improve my qualifications and training. I worked as a journalist in the magazine of Aeronautic and Astronautics of the Spanish Air Force. The past confinement put in a very difficult situation the dogs and cats collected in protective societies or in shelters, depending on the city councils. So we detected more requests from people than usual to collaborate as volunteers and go to the centers to take the dogs out of the cages, feed them or groom them. To be a volunteer in one of these associations, you need above all a great deal of sensitivity towards the animals and the strength of spirit in the face of the high number of cases of mistreatment that they have to deal with, because it is very easy to cry. Definition. Volunteering is the work of people who serve a community or the environment by their own free choice. The term also refers to the group of such people, volunteers. By definition, volunteers are not paid for their work, nor do they receive honors or rewards of any kind, either from themselves or for others. To dedicate one's life to the service of humankind is laudable and meritorious, but to work for free is unfair, because everyone is entitled to a fair and dignified salary. This is the spirit of Gesara's humanitarian projects that will be funded in the future, that everyone should have a livelihood in exchange for their voluntary work. Some NGOs take advantage of the humanitarian and compassionate spirit of their followers, just like sects, to get them to sign a volunteer contract that consists of working for free in exchange for nothing more than living like a beggar, while their managers receive million-dollar salaries in exchange for doing almost nothing. That would be a new form of slavery. Many selfless people have a vocation of service to humankind, but no vocation of martyrdom or for being unwary suckers. It's hard to be happy if you can't pay your food or your bills. To serve means to give, to sacrifice a part of oneself for the benefit of others, but the scales must be balanced by a fair and dignified salary. Karma Yoga means selfless service and detachment for all self-interest, when the results are given to God, but this works without the need of the poor, when one pursues one's profession vocationally and idealistically, as a means of serving others, without giving up one's livelihood. A good professional is kind and always gives more than his or she is paid for, because his main interest is to be of service to his community. The world still functions thanks to good professionals, despite the imbalances, because good people abound. Dangers. Volunteering is a good way to gain professional experience, unpaid of course. But in those moments of postgraduate or postmaster's angst, remuneration may not be our top priority. One of the dangers is the possibility that with our goodwill and enthusiasm, we are doing for free a task that an organization should be paying for, and taking up regular jobs that should be created. But how do we distinguish the NGO that really needs the voluntary work of interpreters, translators, or proofreaders to carry out this work from the one that profits from all that voluntary work? A whole mafia has grown up around volunteer work in recent years. In some places, they take advantage of the volunteers' shipment to do all those tedious tasks that permanent staff have to do. No one should take advantage of the willingness and sincere effort of a volunteer. This generates labor intrusiveness and sabotage to their own profession. No one tries to get an architect to build a house for free, nor a doctor to operate for the love of the art, nor a lawyer to defend without receiving his fees. There are salaried professionals and there are non-salaried professionals. Reflections. Fear of Inconvenience by Todd Haven. Everyone asks the question, why can't people see the obvious? Why can't people believe what's going on and stand up and do something about it? I don't have an answer to that question. Most likely these people are ashamed to admit that their decisions were irrational. Another inconvenient truth they would have to accept is that we were right and all their cheap friends were wrong. Advice from the oldest human being. Lucille Random died last week at the age of 118, passing the crown of the longest living person to Spaniard Maria Branias Morera, born in 1907, and now 115. In quotes, order, tranquility, good connection with family and friends, contact with nature, emotional stability, no worries, no regrets, lots of positivity, and staying away from toxic people is what Branias attributes to her longevity. There are several references to reincarnation in the Bible, but it is never mentioned in Christian theology. They always talk about a born-again Christian. What do you think that means when he said you had to be reborn? Why didn't Adam know everything after eating from the tree of knowledge? They only knew they were naked, apparently nothing more. They knew they were vulnerable. Is this something like the prodigal son who leaves the home when they leave the garden to learn the carnal things, and then, once he realizes it's all vanity, returns? Kind of like growing up in a small village and thinking only for the living the excitement of city life, but then retreating back to a small village. Wounded people hurt others, but healed people heal others. Safe people give shelter to others. Free spirits free others. Enlightened ones enlighten others. And love always wins. So shine your light of love on all. Shine your light of love on all who cross your path in life, because what you do matters. According to Henry Bergson, some are born with spiritual immune systems that sooner or later reject the illusory worldview grafted onto them from birth through social conditioning. They begin to sense that something is wrong and begin to search for answers. Inner knowing and other anomalous experiences show them a side of reality that others ignore, and so begins the journey of awakening. Each step of the journey is made by following the heart rather than the crowd, and choosing knowledge over the veils of ignorance. Ahanria, the dragon, speaks for Galaxy Girl. The time of preparation is over. Either you are ready or you are not. Either one is of the light or one is of the unlight. There is no more time. The time of great awakening is now. We are the dragon warriors of old returning to honor the prime directive, which is to honor life, to honor the light and to be more of it. This ascension is an inside job. Ascension is personal because it's so profound. Humankind is not alone, but it is the linchpin of success. Gaia would have ascended long ago, but has waited out of compassion. Creation waits no longer. The time for miracles is near. It's time to fly high and free. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.